Welcome everybody to another edition of Hitting for the Cycle. Yes, no, don't adjust your sets. I'm Tom Albano. Obviously, I was on with Ryan last week. I was gracious enough to do the Red Sox side, but now I get the Yankee side because Ryan's not here. But Ben is back. So, Ben, good to see you. Uh, Hopefully, I did a good enough job last week filling in for your spot, but now it's up to us to carry Ryan's weight.
Yeah. Hopefully Ryan has a good vacation. I know you guys were together when I was on vacation a couple weeks ago, so I'm filling back in. And yeah, Tom, you get to go to your side of the screen. I can go to my overall side. So, it's good that you want to be a temporary Sox fan for 1 week last week. We'll welcome you to open arms if you want. But all in all, it's good to be with you, my man. And can't wait for the show.
Absolutely. All right. Let's get our little socials out of the way. Make sure to follow Hitting for the Cycle at HFTC ETB on Facebook, X, and Instagram. And make sure to follow the network itself at ETB Network, Facebook, X, Instagram, and TikTok. Make sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network, where we've just passed 825 subscribers, I think. So the climb to 1,000 is continuing, and it's continuing in a pretty quick fashion. Uh, if you don't want to watch us or you can't watch us and see our faces, then you can take Hitting for the Cycle on the road with you wherever you get your podcasts, Acast, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and all of that.
Yep, and today, guys, this episode is presented as always by Playback. Watching sports is more fun with others, but we spend too much of our time watching alone. Playback is a virtual space where communities can stream live sports together with everyone perfectly synced up. Creators can hop on stage, deliver their own play-by-play analysis and commentary, and invite curious up for Q&A. Playback makes watching sports fully interactive and a social experience from playing fantasy sports, repping your favorite players and teams, and watching with commentators and communities you care about. Win or lose, sports are best. Enjoy it together. Join our community by going to playback.tv/ETB network to find out more, including our live stream schedule. Tom, funny enough, will be on Playback later today for the USA Serbia game. We're
Yeah,
excited for that.
the day
So
we're
make sure
recording this. Yeah, the day we're recording this is U.S. Serbia rematch in the semifinals, and as long as the USA wins, they'll be playing in the gold medal game on Saturday, which I think is like 3:30 in the afternoon. So
Yep,
should
and
be fun.
we have our football forecast show coming up next month as well too. Starting September 7th will be our premiere. So we got a lot of stuff coming on Playback. Make
Mhm.
sure you guys do follow that fun stuff if you haven't had.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, let's get into our top story. The obvious top story of the week revolves around one particular team in Chicago, but it's funny that we sat down to record at the time we did because a little development has started to happen right before we started recording. I had questioned this when I was talking with Nick on ETV Sports about it, but it has happened. The White Sox have fired their manager, Pedro Grifol. Obviously, the White Sox went on a 21 consecutive game losing streak. That is tied for the modern American League record going back to 1901. With the 1988 Orioles, which I was surprised to hear because that was a team that had Cal Ripken and a bunch of legends on it. Uh, and that is actually tied the 21 straight games, the second longest in modern MLB history, again going back to 1901. The 1961 Phillies had 23 consecutive losses, if I'm not mistaken. And there were two other teams that had longer losing streaks. It was something like 26 and 28, but you would have to go back to like the 1880s, 1890s for that. Like I think one of them was the Cleveland Spiders of 1889 or something like that. So the White Sox, obviously, it has been a tumultuous time, and now they have finally fired manager Pedro Grifol. As I kind of talked about with Nick on ATV Sports, it has just been one bad headline after one bad headline this season, well, really stretching back to like last season or even the season before with the White Sox. Obviously, last week the whole hubbub was about Garrett Crochet and him refusing to be traded from the team unless he received an extension in order to go play for a contender and pitch past his innings limit, which Ryan and I kind of blasted, thought that was stupid.
Yep.
Uh, Here's the statement, by the way, before we continue on and dragging the White Sox through the mud. Uh, this is a statement from Chris Getz, the White Sox senior vice president and general manager. As we all recognize, our team's performance this season has been disappointing on many levels. Despite the on-field struggles and lack of success, we appreciate the effort and professionalism Pedro and the staff brought to the ballpark every day. These 2 seasons have been very challenging. Unfortunately, the results were not there, and a change is necessary as we look to our future and the development of a new energy around the team. Ultimately, Grifol's tenure with the White Sox ends at 89 and 190, including a 28 and 89 record the White Sox have as of the time of this recording. There will be an interim manager to be announced. They will not go for a new full-time manager until after this season. So, Ben, I mean, challenging is one way to put it, because this statement basically said Pedro Grifol suck as a manager, and now we have to clean up the mess.
Yeah, it's kind of surprising how it took this long to make this firing. I guess it took 21 straight losses to make this firing happen, because you could have made this firing maybe at the end of this first month of the season. I mean, I feel for these overall fans in Chicago, it's a big time market. Um, the Cubs for the most part have been able to kind of hang around, but you kind of look at the other team. This is not obviously like a team like the Oakland A's or like the Tampa Bay Rays, like a really low market. Specifically, it's Chicago, and it just sucks because you could see that team from a couple of years ago possibly being a better team down the road, and instead it's made it worse. And it's not like they don't have like much prospects coming up that are going to be exciting per se. It's just going to be a team that's kind of in the mud. So
Yeah.
it sucks the way it happened. I mean, they're 28 and 89, Tom, and we're at the beginning of August. That's really tough doing baseball. I mean, that 21 game losing streak, I understand they're a bad team, but it's just impressive, like how they kept on losing for 21 straight games. I mean, you would think maybe, another team's player possibly, had a bad night pitching wise, or, a team had a bad defensive night, but they somehow still found ways to lose. And it was like on top of finding ways to lose, which is absolutely crazy. So,
Yeah. They only had, I think, 3 wins in April.
yeah, something like that. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised. I kept on tracking throughout the year. Like, I just kind of was just like, this team is just so bad. I just really don't care at this point in time in terms of how many wins they're going to be getting, because I'll be tracking more of the losses at this point. So,
Ben, if they lose this series this weekend to the Cubs, like they already lost 2 of 3 to Oakland. Now if they lose 2 of 3 to the Cubs at minimum, or worse, get swept, I could see that they break the Mets 120 game 120 losses from the
oh,
1962 season.
no, I could definitely see that happen. And I was just looking at the run differential too, Tom. They have a negative run differential, and it is a very bad run differential.
Oh, I talked about that with Ryan last week. Ryan, at the time Ryan and I recorded, I don't know what the differential now, but last week it was minus 229.
Well, now it's negative 248. So it's gotten
Oh
worse.
my! It continues to get worse. They're like 50 or 60, maybe even 70 worse than like the second team, the next team above them in run differential. The Rockies were like minus 170 or something like that.
Yeah, no, it's really bad. I mean, I'm just looking in terms of like everything their team ranking wise. They're batting 216 as a batting average overall team. They got a 275 on base percentage.
No, that's just laughing because they're, as a team, they're about to go under the Mendoza line.
Yeah. So, I mean, they should probably fire their whole entire, not only their manager, but the whole staff. I mean, they just got a clean house totally.
I laugh at that statement from the White Sox, and that it's been put out, that statement, the quote from Chris Getz. He has to be next.
Yeah, exactly.
I understand Jerry Reinsdorf has given this team a lot of frustration as an owner. I understand how frustrating it can be, but it's like the next step, as you said, then is it has to be a complete clean house. They already got rid of Grifol now. Get rid of Getz. Get rid of all the coaches. if anybody is on like a 1-year deal or their contract's expiring, don't renew them. It basically is like you need to eliminate as many remnants of these last 2 seasons as possible.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I just like I said, I don't know where this is going to be heading at all. It's all I know is it's not going to be going well. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised, Tom, at this point in time, if Garrett Crochet does not get moved at the end of this offseason. Yes, I understand the demands that he wants and the extension and stuff like that, but you just look at this overall state of this team. Like, you're one of the stars in the league. Why would you want to stay with a place like this that does not have much of a future, and with a team that you just look at and you're just like, I can go somewhere else. Garrett Crochet should go to a place like the Baltimore Orioles or like the Atlanta Braves, a team that might need some more pitching and could give them a run down the road, in a front office that maybe could give them an extension, even if.
Well, keep in mind something. We're not, and we talk. Actually, this should be talked about more with like the trade deadline moves. Technically, acquisitions are not done. Do you remember last year when near September, all those players got put on waivers, and that other contending teams were picking them up? And I remember all the baseball insiders saying this is probably going to be something that starts to happen. So I would not be surprised if by the end of this month they just release Crochet or put him on waivers for another team to pick up, and then they can deal with whatever the situation is there.
Yeah, I mean, you never know. A team big arm could go down with an injury, or something could happen. Where a team might need some more help. Luis Robert Jr. I know has been one of the best premier hitters in the game for a long period of time. This year, it hasn't worked out for him, but I think personally it's because of injuries and just the state of this team. I just think for him, you can go to a place like Philadelphia or a place that needs an outfield bat, and I think he really could excel. I mean, he has one of the best, line drive hard hit percentages I think in the league. I mean, the guy when he hits the ball, he hits it hard. So it's not like this guy is just completely falling off the face of the earth. I just think that there's a ton of pressure on this guy. He might not be he could be a really good premier bat. I don't know if he's going to be an absolute star for a team like the White Sox. I think that he's just an overall, between him and Crochet, they're just in an awful position right now. And it's like when you're in that position, it's like when you're at a job and you're just looking at everybody, you're just like, here we go again. That's the White Sox this whole entire year. It's just like, here we go again. And I think that for some guys, it's just like, can I please get out? I mean, I saw Miguel Vargas. Funny enough, he literally just got traded there, and there
was the Dodgers.
Yeah, from the Dodgers, and there was a viral video of him after their loss against the A's, the first game, of him literally just by the dugout, just on his own, just staring, and it looked like he had the worst time of his life.
I mean, think about it, Ben. When it comes to Miguel Vargas, you get traded from the Dodgers, the favorite to win the NL West, the guaranteed playoff team, and now you get traded to the worst team in baseball. It's like it's like you're punished for basically for no reason. And that's the other thing about Pedro. Like, I get that, and I was watching post-game shows for the White Sox, where Ozzie Guillen was basically going off, and I get it. The Ozzie Guillen's time with Chicago sometimes could be tumultuous. Especially towards the end, and when he was assigned to be the Miami manager for like a season or two, when the Marlins did the whole rebranding process. But to pick somebody like Pedro Grifol with no experience over Ozzie Guillen, who, I know the Tony La Russa situation didn't work out, but I mean, I just don't understand what they were trying to do with Pedro Grifol with no experience whatsoever, because, I mean, just look at the results that you got. And a few days ago, the report came out that basically Grifol had to mandate batting practice and running. I didn't know as a baseball team, batting practice and running had to be mandated. Like,
yeah. No, it's not. It's typically guys just get their hacks in and they're ready for the game. I mean, if you're, it's like you're taking a test and you try to get all the answers before you're actually taking it. You gotta kind of work yourself in. And for a team like the White Sox, yes, they need all the help that they can get. But if they're already using their energy before the game, no wonder why they've been losing a lot of these games. It's because they already used their energy before even playing.
The thing is, like, you should be. I think you would be expected as a baseball player to just, take batting practice or run
Mhm.
around on the field for a little bit before the game. Which all that goes to show that the locker room has probably been just as chaotic, and behind the scenes, it is just complete turmoil. Which, again, that's why house has to be cleaned after the season. But I mean, what else is there to say? This team is just dreadful.
Mm. Yeah, no, it's an awful situation. I've gotten to a point where like I feel for the fans. Last year with the Red Sox, the last couple of years has been kind of brutal, but like I can't even like in my shoes kind of imagine what they're going through. Especially this is not a small market type team, Tom. This is
Yeah.
a big market city in Chicago. Um, and they already have to deal with the Chicago Bears, for so many years. I mean, imagine you're a White Sox fan, you're a Bears fan. I just I don't know what to even say. It's
Yeah,
just
no. And the thing is, I want to go back to something that you said because it actually kind of connects with a tweet I've talked about with Jeff Passan that came out like that was resurfaced last week. They were going through all those sucky years in 2010s, but they were picking up guys. They had prospects like you mentioned Luis Robert, Yoan Moncada, Tim Anderson that were slowly making their way up, and the expectation was the White Sox could be the dominating team of the AL Central for the 2020s, and here we are, and that tank is going to be even longer at the rate we're going.
Yeah, well, that's happened. That's why front offices are so important to have, is because you could feel like you have all the pieces in the world, but then it takes a season or two that it could completely fall apart. I mean, this is not just one season of falling apart. This could potentially lead Tom to a long run of just them being completely irrelevant, especially if they start to like move on from Crochet and Robert and a lot of the pieces that they have, because who would want to play there at this point in time? I mean, you look at the AL Central too. I mean, I don't see them currently for the long term run in a position where they can compete with teams like the Guardians and um, you know
The
even
Twins,
the Twins. Even the Tigers are starting to make a come up a little bit
yeah,
too. So worst comes to worst. I mean, they're going to be the second to last team and the last place team for a long period of time. I mean, the only hope is for the White Sox is maybe they make the A's kind of run from last year, where the A's were completely awful. I mean, this year they're not great, but at least they're getting some guys, some prospects that they can kind of look around. I know that really their situation over there is still pretty bad, but the A's are actually in top five, I think, in home runs and stuff like that. The White Sox need to have something to be like for their fans to even be happy about, because there's nothing to even be happy about. Their front office sucks. Their manager sucked. Yes, I mean Robert Jr. is something to be okay about. He's fine.
there's
Uh,
been locker room drama the past however many years, going from the LaRussa and him clashing with the young players to
yeah,
now basically questioning the effort and the culture around the White Sox locker room. It's insanity.
yeah, no, it's really bad. And just we'll see in terms of what happens. Like you're mentioning earlier, that we're gonna see if they can break the Mets' massive losing record from the past and some other teams. And I think that they can even possibly eclipse those teams. I think specifically they're just in a state of finish out the season. Like it's kind of like when you're on a terminal on a plane, you're waiting for a delay for like 4 or 5 hours. It pretty much just like get me off of this immediately. And the
Hmm.
White Sox are just in that phase of like, can we please just end this now? Like we're already like, and you could tell them by like the first month of the season, like they were just completely out of it. So um, maybe I don't know in terms of how their money looks this offseason. Maybe they possibly get an arm or two. I mean, they definitely have to, because it's just like we said, it's been bad.
Yeah. Uh, Things, however, have not been bad somewhat for the defending Cy Young champion in Blake Snell, who ends up pitching a no hitter against the Cincinnati Reds on Friday. So he, yeah, last Friday struck out, I think it was either 10 or 11. They would blank to the Reds 3-0, 114 pitches, 78 for strikes. This was actually Ben Blake Snell's first complete game in 202 major league starts, which I was surprised to hear. I thought he would have had a complete game already. It's the third no-hitter this season. Ronald Blanco no-hit Toronto back in April. Dylan Cease just very recently pitched a no-hitter against the Nationals. And then we nearly had a fourth no-hitter from Framber Valdez, who was going for his second career no-hitter. One out short, gives up a home run to Cody Bellinger in the bottom of the ninth.
Corey Seager. Crazy.
Yeah, it's absolutely crazy. I'm happy for Snell because I remember, Snell was going into spring training with no team. He needed an extended spring training, got hurt. Basically came out and said that he had regretted, not signing sooner than later. But now he has found his stride in San Francisco. I think, isn't he going to become a free agent again at the end of this season?
I think he was an opt-out this year, and I think he's
out, and I'm very certain he's going to opt out after the season he's been having. So, he has another opportunity for a payday. It's just hopefully he goes into this coming off season knowing not to make the same mistake that he did this past one.
Yeah. Congrats to Blake Snell on that no-hitter. I was fortunate enough to see it just on TV. That was pretty impressive. And like you mentioned, Tom, I remember Ryan and I a couple months ago, we talked about Blake Snell and his overall struggles and like how we weren't feeling sorry for him, and because of he's obviously a Scott Boras client. So, a lot of those guys between him, Montgomery, Bellinger, they all essentially kind of signed later compared to a lot of the guys because Boras obviously wanted to use them as leverage and stuff like that. And they didn't get a lot of spring training time. And guys like pitchers, like they need to have the reps in spring training. And so for Blake Snell, though, I always see this guy as a very slow first half guy in terms of his results. His second half, I remember with the Padres and some other teams, it's just been a lot more efficient. So, for him to obviously pitch this no-hitter is massively impressive, but it doesn't surprise me the way that he has been pitching the second half overall. The thing about Blake Snell, though, which, like you mentioned, it's his first complete game, I think, his whole entire career. And for it to be a no-hitter makes it even more impressive because I just thought that, the Reds overall had a decent year, but regardless of who the opponent is, he was pretty much on top of his game the whole entire night. He was commanding a lot of his pitches between his fastball, his curveball. I think he has a changeup. I know I think he has a slider as well too, but he definitely has a really good curveball and a fastball. So, really good for Blake. And I think that this offseason, he'll probably opt out. There'll be a lot of teams needed for him. I know that obviously like your Yankees had some interest early on last past offseason. A team maybe like the Phillies or even my Red Sox, I wouldn't be surprised, would take a look at a guy like him. I don't think he's going to cost the bank of, some of the other big-time arms that might be coming up this offseason.
I wouldn't think so. And that's the thing, Ben. And this doesn't just apply to Blake Snell, but obviously other Scott Boras free agents. Juan Soto is going to be a free agent after this season. Pete Alonso is going to be a free agent at the end of this season. Garrett Cole has an opt-out, but I don't think he's opting out. The thing is, and it's not about them, it's about Scott Boras. I hope, and this is a very big hope because I doubt it. I'm basically worried that the same mistakes are going to be made. He's going to, after what happened to his clients last offseason, his clients are going to continue to suffer again in this coming offseason, and that there is a chance we could go into December and to January with Soto, Alonso, Snell not having a team because of the business practices of Scott Boras.
Yeah, no, the market. We obviously looked at the market being bad this year. It could be just the exact same but worse this upcoming year. We're actually kind of preparing for it, I think, compared to like what last year was. Last year we were just praying for just more news to head. This time around, it's just like we're kind of expecting it, but maybe for some of these guys like Blake Snell and like Jordan Montgomery that had really slow starts, maybe they're maybe kind of pushing a maybe more on the earlier side to maybe convince him to start, to be like, hey, like we need to get some reps in spring training because we saw what happened last year.
Yeah, and I guess the only thing that tempers my worries a little bit is guys like, well, Snell coming off a no hitter, but like you said, Snell might be a different case. But Soto, Alonso, those are different stories. They're not pardon me, not yeah, Cody Bellinger commanding 250 million, $300 million after about one bounce back season after three
Mhm.
bad seasons in LA.
Yeah, him, Matt Chapman even made a ton with
Yeah,
the Giants. He was a Boris client. So I mean, but all in all, congrats to Blake Snell on that. Framber Valdez, he almost had a second no. I mean, it's even impressive to just have one on your resume to you potentially have two. I mean it's pretty impressive. To
and
even
the
go
Astros, sorry,
and, well, sorry, what were you saying?
I was gonna say, and the Astros have really turned things around, in the
Oh
last couple months.
yeah, Ryan and I were talking slowly enough for us. We were talking, oh, maybe, it's finally a year that they finally start to come down a little bit. But I thought in like the back of my mind, even when they were kind of, well, I think they were in second to last place or last place for at least a little bit of a start. But I'm like, if there's any team with that overall experience and that roster that could turn their season around, it's the Astros. I
Right.
mean, it's almost like a bully that you kind of could see in school, and they're just like, oh, maybe that bully that you saw, he's just gone. Finally got rid of him, and then like all of a sudden, it's just kind of creeping back in your mind, like maybe he can kind of get back at you. And so that's the Astros. They're the MLB's bullies that we all seem to somehow hate for the way that they've been doing it for a while. But you also have to kind of respect for the way things have been going there, especially with the manager that's a first-time manager there in Joe Espada. He's been able to do a really good job turning that overall program around. And I have them specifically currently right now. I know the Yankees obviously have had a fantastic year, given the standards of what happened last month, but all in all, been pretty good for the Yanks and a couple other teams. But the Astros, I think, to me, until somebody beats them in the playoffs, I think it's still my team that can make the most noise overall. I know that obviously their pitching staff hasn't been as Christian Javier has obviously been down, a couple other guys, but if Framber
Well, I
Valdez,
think that's why, Ben, they've turned things around, is at the start of the year, they had a lot of their guys banged up and on the IL, and now they've gotten those pieces back.
yeah, and I mean, even like Luis Garcia, he was obviously a massive guy pitching wise for them for the last couple of years. He hasn't even came back yet. Justin Verlander's obviously been down. So like they have guys right now pitching, and they even have some potential guys coming back too. So their offense has been really hitting around their stride. We actually play them this weekend, so I am not looking forward to that at all. But we play them twice this month, all in all. That's how the Red Sox are. They have one of the worst tough months of the season, just like last year in August. So, but if we can beat them this weekend in Boston, that would be a massive boost for sure.
I am so satisfied that we got them, when it was early in the season and they were down and managed to win both series. That was, I think, pretty big for New York.
Yeah. Yeah, no, you guys definitely like the first, series. You just never know in terms of how teams are going to kind of show out right away. You guys obviously had the best of it, and then you got the second time of them when they were completely just out of it. They're kind of like you guys of last month, but they were just completely, they just couldn't hit with guys on base. Their pitching was awful, but now they essentially kind of have both turned around. So it's just like, of course, this happens with the Red Sox. It's like they're going to face them right at their best. But I also think it's a good test, given kind of where the Red Sox are at this point in time in the season.
For sure. I mean, the Red Sox fighting for a wild card spot. I think they're a game and a half behind the Royals as of the time we're recording this. The Astros, as you mentioned, Astros and Mariners, after the Mariners' little collapse, that they're fighting for the AL West. The Yankees and Orioles fighting for the AL East. So a lot of interesting storylines to go around here. But yeah, happy for Blake Snell. Framber Valdez really showing himself as, I'm imagine at the time Framber Valdez comes up for contract the way he's been pitching. He's gonna get a payday. Going on now to a little bit of an interesting story. So obviously, Major League Baseball has come up over the last several years of unique locations to play a baseball game. Uh, Obviously, we have the Little League Classic coming up that they've had the last few years. The Yankees and Tigers are going to play a game there. Uh, they had
Oh,
the tribute to they played at what was it?
the field
Uh,
trip game.
the Field of Dreams game.
Yep.
The old was it Negro League Stadium?
Yep. They did
Uh,
that. They did it earlier this year, right?
yeah, they did that earlier this year.
Yep.
Because I think that did because they did that not long after Willie Mays passed away, so they have all the tributes to
Yep.
Willie there. And now, and then obviously the international series that they've been trying to do,
Mhm.
and now apparently they're going to play a game next year in 2025. It's going to be Braves versus Reds at Bristol Motor Speedway, a NASCAR racetrack.
Yeah, that's something I might need to get a ticket for. I can maybe say, in my life I can I can see a baseball game in a speedway because that's the last place I would kind of figure that they would maybe take a look at. Yeah, maybe they would maybe play a game possibly in another country, I don't know, Brazil, or it's kind of like what the NFL is doing, but
Yeah.
what what they're doing at a speedway, I mean, you want to talk about outside of the box picture and stuff like that. Um, I don't even know how the field's going to be looked for that as like a speedway. Do they? I guess they just put like a ton of grass in between the whole entire area, and they kind of build a fence around. And
I guess, and definitely the
I don't know
structure,
how that would work.
the seating structure for the crowd is definitely going to be weird because obviously it's NASCAR.
Yeah.
It's not like an MLB stadium where you may not have a certain area with fans, particularly those towards the outfield where the home runs get hit. But like it's an oval, so you're gonna have fans all over the place. So
Hmm.
I'm curious how they're really gonna set up the field. Austin Riley from the Braves said it's gonna be basically like SEC football. Uh, Bristol hosted an NFL exhibition game in 1961 between Philadelphia and Washington. The track held two college football games in consecutive weeks in 2016. Tennessee versus Virginia Tech and East Tennessee versus Western Carolina. I actually don't remember that.
No, I don't either.
The game is scheduled between the Braves and Reds. Looks like it's going to be scheduled for very early August, like August 2nd of 2025. So about a year from now. Uh, it's going to be a really interesting layout. It's funny you mentioned about them maybe playing in other countries because I remember all the moaning and crying last year, all the debates we were having about the World Baseball Classic.
Hmm.
And I thrown a proposal out there to uh, Nick Morgeson, to our old friend Johnny. I said, well, what if basically MLB said, okay, if we're not going to do the World Baseball Classic, then basically every year, uh, all MLB teams basically have to participate in an international series, and every other year you basically have to give up a home series for it. Where
Yeah,
it's like
that'd be cool.
that, like one team, like we have the London series, we have we always have the Japan series that they've been bringing back the last couple of years featuring the Dodgers with Shohei Ohtani. Like they did one this year. I think they're going to do one again next year with the Dodgers. What was I saying back then? I'm like trying to think of what I said back then. I said maybe a series in like well they had the Yankees play the Mexican league team, so maybe a series in Mexico, a series in Brazil, a series in Australia. And I'm curious if maybe that is the direction that MLB is trying to go, where they're going to just throw as many games as possible. And even if they're not international, they have some sort of, I don't know if I want to say gimmick, maybe theme is a better word. Like we mentioned, a Little League Classic, the tribute to the Negro Leagues, the Field of Dreams. Like I'm wondering if that's just the direction that baseball's going, where every team every year eventually will play in some sort of thematic game or series.
Yeah. I think all in all, they're gonna hopefully every single year kind of create something with a lot of these teams to keep them engaged and to hopefully have them playing something maybe outside of their park. So I think all in all with this situation with the Brewers and Reds for they have for next month, I think it's a really cool opportunity. And we'll see in terms of this could be something where this is just a short term thing, or this could be something that they can, maybe make this as I want to say a yearly type thing, but maybe kind of make it something where it's like every year type of thing. And, um, we'll see what happens.
Mhm. Take a second now to pay tribute to a legend in Billy Beane, who passed away at the age of 60. Just for clarification's sake, this is not the Moneyball Billy Beane. This Billy Beane, however, was the MLB Senior Vice President of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Uh, Statement from Rob Manfred: Our hearts are broken as we mourn our dear friend and colleague Billy Beane, one of the kindest, most respected individuals I have ever known. Billy was a friend to countless people across our game, and he made a difference through his constant dedication to others. So, Billy Beane actually was a fourth round draft pick by the Tigers in 1986, played for the Tigers, the Dodgers, and the Padres. 10 seasons, about 272 career games. He decided to actually retire at the age of 31 because he did found basically he said it might be too hard, or a really rough experience to be a closeted baseball player, and that he didn't believe that MLB at the time was ready for an openly gay player. He didn't come out until 1999, 3 years after his game, after his final game, pardon me. He became a national story, and after he published a memoir, and as I kind of alluded to, basically he had been hired by the commissioner's office in the mid 2010s. He has been basically an ambassador for inclusion, focusing on LGBTQ inclusion, social justice initiatives, player education. So unfortunately, he lost an 11-month battle with acute myeloid leukemia.
Yeah, rest in peace to Billy Beane. My condolences and my prayers go out to his family. This news actually happened during one of our playback streams the other day. So we didn't know in terms of if it was the one from Moneyball or the other one, but regardless of the fact, it's a passing, and we want to obviously give our condolences to this one here. And obviously he played around different teams, and it's obviously for a guy at 60 years old, it obviously it really is. It's very unfortunate, and
Mhm.
just hopefully that his family gets all the love and support, obviously during this very tough time.
And Bean definitely made an impact on the game. You can say made it a better, safer place for players to play in, and his impact is felt, and he will be missed.
Yeah, definitely for sure.
Going on now to Max Scherzer, because now we've talked about was it we talked about actually not too long ago. Well, maybe not us, but Garrett Cole had gone on the IL very recently. I mean, not
Mhm.
on the IL, but he had fatigue. He avoided an IL stint. Now Max Scherzer uh, has fatigue, and unfortunately, he's not going to avoid the IL. He is placed on the IL because of fatigue. And if I'm not mistaken, this is the second time this season he's on the IL. And I can say, as somebody who has loved Max Scherzer, somebody who has followed Max Scherzer since he first came up into the big leagues, this is hard to watch. Like, and it's unfortunate to watch because Max Scherzer has just been, for the longest time, a dominant pitcher. I know the other day on ETV, Nick and I talked about, you know, when he was having some struggles in the Nationals 2019 run in the postseason, but they wanted his arm, and he was a dependable arm. They put him in the bullpen, and he delivered there. And, it's kind of hard to watch somebody like Scherzer because when Scherzer plays, he plays well. But this season, given injuries, and even last season, the tumultuous time with the Mets and then traded over to the Rangers, for the World Series run, he got another ring out of it. But
Mhm.
seeing his performance now in terms of just the injuries, it's sad to see.
Yeah, you're seeing a lot of pitchers and a lot of good pitchers the last several years go down, and there seems to be a trend going with elbow problems and arm problems. And unfortunately, with him, with Max Scherzer, he is one of the guys that kind of fits the category of he used a ton of work on his body overall, and it's unfortunate with how he is because, like you mentioned, he's a really good pitcher when he's out there. He has that bulldog mentality. He's going to go out there and give it his whole entire all, and kind of when he's not out there, he just feels like specifically that there's more left out there. And I don't know, because Tom, this is obviously something with him that he's dealt with not just now, he's dealt with in the past in terms of other injuries. Once you start to have a trend of multiple injuries consistently, it doesn't go away. It sometimes it makes it worse. So we're gonna have to see all in all, because I think that he was going to be coming up in terms of our contract year. I think coming up, I don't think that he had much contract terms left, but you know, it's obviously it sucks.
He's actually up for contract this season. He had a 3-year, $130 million contract that he signed with the Mets after 2021. He agreed to opt into his player option for 2024, so I'm
Okay.
assuming he's coming up for a contract at the end of this season. And
Yeah.
if that's the case, given another stint on the IL, I don't know if we have to start flirting the R word around Max Scherzer.
It sucks. I think that there's going to be some teams out there if he is a free agent coming up this offseason, because of just the name that he is. But there should be also be a ton of teams that should be hesitant about what he's dealt with in the past, and obviously, kind of what the future could be looking like for him. So it's really unfortunate. I mean, that Texas team, Tom, they've gone through a lot. We just faced them. You guys are facing them actually this weekend. But we just faced them in Arlington last weekend. And, guys like Adolis Garcia, who, has been one of the most feared hitters. I know last year in October he couldn't be stopped. Right now, he does not look like he knows where the ball is being thrown to. He's going to just swing that pitches left and right. Corey Seager obviously is having an MVP type season. He's going absolutely crazy, but their offense as a whole, between injuries and just underperforming, and their pitching staff. I mean, guys like Jake DeGrom, Max Scherzer, those types of 1-2 who you felt like were going to kind of carry that team to potentially being a maybe division favorite for a lot of years because of just the names that they have, but the injuries are a massive thing for them. And if Scherzer is having these type of problems, and maybe Texas doesn't resign him. Maybe they kind of look at this situation and be like, hey, like we got you a ring, we love your time here, but if you have these type of issues, it's a business, and sometimes when you just look at overall guys in a business and they have some of these things before, it could be a massive hurt to what their value could be also.
Just as a theory, because trying to maybe salvage or just extend his career a little longer, maybe try to get to the 20-year mark, because I think he debuted in 2006.
Yeah.
So in that case, if to try to get to the 20, because I had mentioned what the Nationals had done with him several years ago, could Max Scherzer be a bullpen arm?
I mean, heck yeah, he could. I mean, he's already done it before. I think, Chris Sale, prime example. Chris Sale, with the Red Sox, at least the second half, just could not stay healthy. And he even said after that the Red Sox moved on from him, saying that, I wish I put more into this organization. And, he obviously gave us the ring. He obviously was the guy to give us the 2018 ring. The pitch to Manny Machado still is chef's kiss to Lionel then for me, especially with the way Manny is. I mean, Manny is a fantastic player, but regardless of the fact, I'm not going to say the rest on here. You want to see with the way that Chris Sale is pitching right now. He's been able to stay durable, knock on wood, but the way that he's been doing this year, he's been all-star with Atlanta. I'm happy for him. And I don't know if maybe Max Scherzer can possibly have that, where he maybe goes to the pen and kind of just works himself, and then maybe he can cash in and go somewhere else and possibly have that happen to him. Who knows? I mean, because I still think that it's not like he's getting up there in age, but it's not like he doesn't have anything left in the tank. I still think that there's still stuff left with him. It's just the constant of him being able to stay out there and stay durable is just something at this point in time he just does not have anymore.
Yeah, he still has ability. He still can be one of the better pitchers in baseball. Like you said, it's just a matter of right now his health.
Exactly. And it's Justin Verlander, DeGrom, Scherzer. They were kind of that core three for a long period of time of how impressive they are, and they still are great, great pitchers, but just they just can't stay on the field. And we're going to talk about a guy, unfortunately, in Mike Trout, that unfortunately, with a lot of his career, as great as he is, has not been able to stay on the field.
No. And Mike Trout is a completely different story because Mike Trout, like I don't know if you saw the end of last week's episode when Ryan and I talked about Mike Trout, and I
Mhm.
was like, it's heartbreaking, and it just at this point, puts an emphasis on just how the Angels have failed him. Like, granted, you can make the argument that um, Mike Trout, signed that contract and kind of knew what he was going to be getting himself into after a few years in Los Angeles. But at the same time, I feel like the Angels also failed him in terms of the free agent that they signed around. And I had said a take that I don't know how over it got, but I said basically the Mike Trout GOAT conversation, unfortunately, has to stop with another season ending injury.
Yeah, I mean, at this point in time, you can make the argument that Mike Trout in his overall career is kind of underrated because you look at least that's my overall opinion, but you're looking at in baseball, Aaron Judge, Shohei Ohtani, Juan Soto. Those are kind of the three kind of pillars out there. But then you can kind of look at it and be like, kind of remember Mike Trout, kind of how he was kind of the face of baseball, this and that. And now it's like if the injuries were never a thing in play for him, he would probably be up there. But unfortunately, that's the thing for him.
I'm assuming you're going to agree with this take that's been going around the last week, but he is this generation's Ken Griffey Jr.
Yeah, I definitely understand that. I mean, I do think that for Mike, he has to go somewhere else to even unlock himself even more. I just don't know what the
He's going to
Angels.
take on that contract with all that injury history.
That's the thing. That's the thing. Nobody's going to want to take it as talented and as amazing as he is. You look at that massive contract and you look at what he's had in the injuries. Two things nobody wants to deal with. So, Angels, you had your chance to move on from him. I mean, Mike Trout, I respect you, but I also don't feel that in terms of if you don't win anything, you had chances. It's not like you didn't have chances to get out of that mess. You put
Yeah.
yourself in that mess, and now you're going to have to deal with the consequences, as tough as it is for the talent that he has.
He will go down like a Griffey of one of the game's greatest players, but no World Series to show for it. Not even barely like one playoff appearance to show for it, too.
Yeah. Well, you look at Shohei. Shohei decided in his free agent type of year
He
to
said,
go,
F this.
yeah, to go from for so many years to get out of an organization in Anaheim, who, by the way, does not have a massive great future either outside of the White Sox. So if Mike Trout comes back for the next several years, there's nothing that is going to lead him to success. There's just nothing that I see, and it sucks.
It does. Well, speaking of Shohei, terrific transition, Ben. Shohei Ohtani joining the 30-30 club for the first time in his major league career. First season with the Dodgers, has hit 30 home runs, stolen 30 bases, and he's done this only as specifically a designated hitter because he hasn't pitched this season. He was shut down for this season, but the hopes that maybe he can be the two-way player again next season. So, you know, the Dodgers have had their ups and downs this season. Their pitching is severely banged up, but Shohei Ohtani is continue. Mookie Betts' injury kind of killed them earlier this year too, but Shohei Ohtani has continued to deliver. He continues to impress, and like you kind of alluded to, the Dodgers. It's definitely going to be the NL West is definitely a tight race. Like we talked about the Giants before with Blake Snell, and they're only like 6, 7, 8 games back of the race. So even though they're sitting in fourth place. So the Dodgers are definitely going to be the favorite to win the NL West. They're definitely a favorite to play in this postseason. So Shohei Ohtani's finally going to get that taste. You just got to hope that Ohtani can deliver in this postseason because I see this Dodgers team. And like I mentioned last week, the acquisition to Jack Flaherty, I'm concerned with those two quarter zone shots very recently. Like, is he going to make it to the postseason? Like, this Dodgers team, I don't know, Ben, still screams to me first round, divisional round exit or something like that. Like every year that it continues to be with the Dodgers outside outside of 2020.
Yeah. Well, first, Shohei Ohtani, 30-30 club. This does not surprise me one bit. They don't call him the unicorn for nothing. I know, obviously, the Ohtani Judge comparisons. Listen, they're both incredible players. I'm just going to leave it at that. But what he has done to go from one team to another and still put up the stats that he's done, he's had to bat leadoff a lot of this overall season, Tom,
Yeah.
too. That's another underrated thing that.
Well, that's a consequence of not having Mookie.
Yep. And Dave Roberts actually said once Mookie Betts comes back, he's not going to be batting leadoff, which I thought was very fascinating. He's going to be batting probably second or third, probably second. But yeah, just he is just incredible. I mean, we obviously faced him in LA, and the ball that he hit, I think, was pretty much out of the park. I mean, just there's just some. The stuff that he does is absolutely incredible. I was privileged enough to see him play last year in his last season with the Angels at Fenway, and it's just must-watch TV when you get between him and Judge, and he's really transformed a lot of this game too for so many years. Also, I think that the game of baseball for a lot of years, I wouldn't say kind of died down, but they didn't have a next Babe Ruth or something like this, and now you have this year. That fans are obviously going to go to see a guy like him and Aaron Judge and Juan Soto and Bryce Harper, guys specifically that stars in sports is the main attractant to not only the media but to the fans and whatnot. And Shohei Ohtani is a massive thing for that. So just continue to see what he's been continuing to see is still very impressive. The Dodgers as a whole, like you said, as a team, their injuries obviously been a massive thing. Jack Flaherty, I think, was a great acquisition, but who knows if he can withstand the rest of this season, given how the Yankees were looking at him and how the injuries potentially were a factor in terms of why they did not get him. So, yeah, and then, of course, their manager, too, Tom, Dave Roberts. I love Dave Roberts as a player with the Red Sox, but as a manager, he's a fine manager in the regular season, but you get paid the big bucks when it matters most. And Dave Roberts in October, at least to be so far, has not shown that. So I'm going to keep going against him until he has shown that. And yes, most of the time than not, it's on the players. But I'm a big component, and I know obviously people have disagree with me here and there, but I'm a big component of a manager in October. Because they're the overall guy that makes a lot of the short-term decisions in big-time games, and they overlook the team in terms of where the team's going to be looking for a specific series. So Dave Roberts, I think, I just don't know if he's the right manager down the road for that team. But I just think with that Dodgers mentality, they'll probably be an NLCS team peak, but I do think that the Phillies, I think with the way that they were last year, I think they have a chip on their shoulder. And the Red October, I think, is going to come all the way down. I mean, you've seen what's going on with them this week. The Phillies and Dodgers series have been a really fun series. The Phillies, I think, are going to be able to get to their pitching, especially if that Dodgers team is depleted with their pitching. There's just so much that the offense that can be able to do for so long. And, we don't know how Mookie's going to be doing, how's he's going to be playing coming back from an injury like that and this and that. But to Shohei, though, all in all, he's the man.
Yeah, he is the man. Now, funny that you mentioned manager, because again, perfect transition going into our last topic. Jim Leyland, one of the most legendary managers of the modern era, led the Tigers to great success. Actually, I think he's still a special assistant within the organization. He had a ceremony that retired his number 10. Nobody will ever wear number 10 in Detroit ever again because that will be exclusively reserved for Jim Leyland. Obviously, 3-time manager of the year, 1990, 1992, and 2006. Actually was just inducted into the Baseball Hall of Fame very recently. He did win a World Series. It was not with Detroit. He did lead Detroit to a few ALCS appearances, a couple of World Series appearances in 06 and 11. Pardon me, 06 and 12. He did win a World Series, though. He was the manager of that 1997 Florida Marlins team. He actually started his managerial career in Pittsburgh, where he led them to 3 straight NLCS appearances. then went to Florida, spent a season with Detroit, and then he actually wasn't a manager again from 2000 to 2005. Then in 2006, Detroit took a flyer on him, and well, in his 4 or 5, I think it was 8 years. Yeah, 8 years in Detroit, terrific success until he eventually, retired from the position.
Yeah, congratulations to Jim Leyland. Congratulations to the Tigers organization. I remember, my team facing against him in the 2013
Yeah,
LCS. He was the manager over there at Detroit. And yeah, just he was able to build a lot of great Tigers teams for many years. Of course, Miguel Cabrera being at the forefront. They just had a lot of fantastic players over there. Max
Prince
Scherzer,
Fielder,
Prince
Max
Fielder.
Scherzer, Justin Verlander, Maglio Ordonez.
Yep. They had a squad for sure over there. And Jim Leyland, I think, he deserves his flowers. He obviously is. When you look at a lot of the managers over at the Tigers, he is, I think, a top 3 when it comes to them in the organization. He did a lot of that for that organization, just on the field, but off the field also too. So, I'm really happy for him, and really happy for the Tigers team to honor him the right way.
By the way, he was only the 7th manager in history to win AL and NL pennants, and I completely forgot. He was also the manager for the 2017 U.S. World Baseball Classic team that won a gold there.
Oh, okay.
So he has had quite the run in his managerial run. And like I said, he had the success in the 90s with the Florida Marlins and with the 3 straight appearances in the championship series for the Pirates. But it's that second stint as a manager coming back to be a manager for Detroit where he really found a stride. And, it's funny to think back, like, if you're Detroit, you just look at that Jim Leyland era, and it's like those were the times where Detroit was a great powerhouse, and it's definitely, been a far cry since. But as we kind of said earlier in the show, Ben, they're starting to really find their stride a little bit with the young players that they have right now, using all of that talent plus what's his name as a manager?
AJ Hinch.
AJ Hinch. AJ Hinch, they took a flyer on him after the whole controversy, got him fired after Houston.
Mhm.
And I think he has definitely connected with those younger players and has helped to develop them.
He has. The Tigers, I think,
Kind of a similar situation you had in Boston with Alex Cora, how beloved he is after he came back after those 1 year gone from that controversy too.
Yeah. Obviously, that controversy with Alex Cora and AJ Hinch in 2017 with that overall scandal. It's just took a lot of balls for a lot of teams to get them after that happened. I mean, Alex Cora even was mentioning massively after the 2020 season how we appreciate the organization for taking a chance on me after the COVID year, because he thought he maybe never would manage again, given kind of what happened there. And just the Tigers, all in all, though, I think that they have a very bright future ahead of them. They have some pieces. Riley Green, I think, is going to be a very fun player over there. They got Matt Verling. They have Perez. I think he's an infielder. I think it's going to take a couple of years for them, but I do think that there is something that they have going for them over there in Detroit. And I mean, heck, at least they're in a better position down the road than a team in their same division, that's Chicago. So
I was just going to say, let's hope their young talent, all the potential there, doesn't end up in Chicago.
Yeah, I think also, too, like, their front office, I think, is a lot more smarter than what probably Chicago has as well, too. So, and I don't know if that's not really saying much, but I do think that for that team, they got a lot going for them. And we actually face them at the end of this month, I'm pretty sure, over in Detroit. So if you have ever been to Comerica Park, actually, it's one of the most underrated ballparks I've been to. I've been to it once. And it's really cool. And, they have a merry-go-round. They have like a little kids club area over there. It's right next to Ford Field where the Lions play. Detroit as a city is okay. It really didn't scream much to me, but the ballpark was kind of cool. And I don't think the Red Sox played well the game I was at, but I do think just being at the overall place, they had Miguel Cabrera, they had Chris Shelton, Magglio Ordonez. That was like one of the really good Tigers teams they had in the past. And I think that Tigers team with AJ Hinch, I just think it'll take a couple of years. I just don't know if they're just there just yet.
For sure. I love how a show can connect, its last topic right back to its first and go full circle. And in perfect timing, too. That's going to do it for this edition of Hitting for the Cycle. So once again, reminder, make sure to follow Hitting for the Cycle on social media at HFTC ETB. Make sure to do the same for the ETB Network at ETB Network. Make sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel, youtube.com/ETB Network. If you can't watch on the video end for the ETB Network, then take us on the road with you wherever you get your podcasts. And once again, shout out over to our friends over at Playback. It's been fun doing a couple of fill-ins these last few weeks. Really, this last month, was 3 times in 4 weeks. But Ben and Ryan are going to be back full-time next week. So, Ben, it's been fun. It's been a pleasure. And you know what? If you guys ever need something, for me to do another fill-in, I'll be very happy to.
I appreciate you, Tom. And I got the chance to fill in with you. Ryan got the chance to fill in with you when I was gone. So it's only fair that I return the favor when Ryan is gone. So we appreciate you. And when obviously any single time that we need to take a time off or we're off, we'll give it over to you. And it was fun, man. And we can't wait. Once again, too, for you guys, this episode you guys presented by Playback. Me and Tom, if you guys want to see more of our faces, we'll be on later on Playback.tv for the USA-Serbia game around 3:30 p.m. We'll be over there. We'll have a lot of fun with that. But great show overall today.
Absolutely. So we'll see you next time, guys.